Right, hello and welcome to this sort of introduction and overview. Oh, sorry, you never get that on any of the revision video. Never mind. Yeah, so this is on induction and training. If you can't see, never mind. Listen to me instead. What we're going to be doing today is I've wrote a few things on the board. So if we go through training, it's just a quick 20-second thing. We'll be just explaining what's the definition of training. We'll be talking about induction training. So basically why it's needed and what exactly is it. We've got on and off the job training, the disadvantages and advantages of them two, which they're sort of interchangeable. We'll go on to that in a minute. We've got the employer and the employee and the advantages to them and disadvantages to them as well of completing the training, irrespective of whether it's on or off, because for the last section we'll be looking at the specific advantages to them of once they've completed it. So we'll start off with the basics. What exactly is training? Well, I'm not going to write this on the board because it's only a one-sentence thing. Basically, training is giving an individual the skills and abilities to perform a given task. So that's basically the definition of it. It's quite a short one. Basically, all it really means, I don't know if we could do it much simpler, but I'll try, is just making sure the person can do their job, basically, and help them if they need it. So they may have got the job, but they may not necessarily have all the desired skills that are required now. And that's more of a recruitment thing, but you can watch a recruitment video if you're struggling with that. So, we're about training, we've done that. Induction, well, we haven't done training, but sort of. Induction, now, I'll write this down just as like a little note here. In note form. Basically, induction training is where an individual is given a week. Once they have the job, if they're given a productive role within the organisation within a week, then that is what is known as induction training. So you could say it's on-the-job training. So, productive role given within a week. Now, you may go, well, what is classed as a productive role? Well, that's quite a generic sort of term, that isn't it? Productive. Basically, what it means is just it's not washing the pots or, being the runaround sort of thing for the organisation. So productive role given within a week. So, as I said, what that essentially means is they're given something challenging. Also, it's like something they could be assessed on, essentially. So, there's not much more to induction training. The advantages and disadvantages to induction training are the disadvantages and advantages of on-the-job training, which is what we're going to go on to now. So, off-the-job and on-the-job training. Well, what is that? Well, quite simple. Off-the-job training is where it's taking place outside the workplace. It's not necessarily, they're not doing the job. They're training for it in a different environment than the work. So off-the-job is away from the workspace, and on-the-job is at the workspace. And obviously, advantage, disadvantage, sort of, you can use them, switch them around. Now, just going to get a different colour pen. And there's a reason for doing this. Just make sure, get a pen that actually works. Just give me a second. Yep, there we go. Alright, that's what you meant to see that. Alright, I'm joking. So, off the job training, which is the easier one to start with actually, I'm just thinking. We'll go with off the job training actually. And the advantages and disadvantages of this. So we said this is, I just put it there, away from the workspace, away from work. Now if it's away from the workspace, when you train an employee, you can't just say, well, here's a scrap of paper, learn how to manufacture a car. They're not going to be able to do that. Well, what you need to do is they need specialised equipment. Now, it sort of leads on to disadvantages of on-the-job training, leads as an advantage of on-the-job training. So essentially, they're switchable. So anyway, as I was mentioning, you need specialised equipment to train an individual, and you may have that when you're away from the workspace, because at an organisation, say, let's take the car analogy, if we're going with that one, if we assume they need to know how to produce a car, or, you know, then they may not have the technology there to be able to train them. They may have it there to actually build the car, but they may not have to train them to build the car, if that makes sense. So specialised equipment is available off-site. So I just put specialised equipment is available off-site, but I'll just put specialised equipment available. Another advantage, another main one, is they're able to meet and interact with new people, because this off-the-job training is not specifically for one organisation. It's sort of like a group sort of thing from various organisations, which could lead to one of the disadvantages with this. Obviously, anyway, which we'll go on to in a minute. But an advantage is you get to meet new people. So the advantage of meeting new people, is what I'm going to put down, is that it sort of makes them a bit more open, and gives them ideas of how to interact with new people, because they may have only been interacting with the people at their job. For example, they know Dave and know Jim, whereas if you don't know Eric from the pub down next door, they may not know, like, Eric might not be a famous figure, so they might not know him. So that means they're more adaptable in the business world, which is a key thing. So they meet new people. So there are two main advantages there. This is if I've missed anything off. Oh yeah, another thing, just missed off. If you're away from the workspace, it seems like you're less involved in actually working. What you're doing it seems more an event. So it's sort of a psychological effect on the worker, because they're more focused on the training, and it seems they're less distracted by the work. So focused on training, and obviously this makes any training implemented more effective. So more focused on training. So just to go over that again, an advantage of off-the-job training is more specialised equipment, so they could be more productive within the training. They meet with new people, or mix with new people, however you want to phrase it, and that enables them to be more adaptable, which they can implement in real-world situations. So English of that is they can work with more people, more new people. They are more focused on the training because they're less distracted by the work, as they're away from their workspace, so their mindset is more focused towards working, or towards training even. Got it wrong there. So, you know, that's an advantage there. However, a disadvantage, now off the job training, they can't just arrive there, they can't fly by you know, just get up and start flying with the ears to the next available training facility. So obviously that's going to cost of transport, so I just put costs involved. But you and I know this is costs involved in terms of transport. So that's a main one for that. And another one, off the job training. Now, the business may not be happy with a person just saying, oh, sorry, I'm slagging off work today, I'm going to the training event or whatever. The business may say, well, no, we don't want to arrange this off-the-job training during your work hours. So either what we'll do is we'll close the factory that we're producing in, so everyone has the opportunity to go to this event. Basically, what I'm trying to get at there is they're probably going to do it outside of work hours. So if they're doing it outside of work hours, they're not required. These employees are not required to do training. So if there's no benefits for them, which there is, but say if they don't realise there is, then obviously they need to be motivated to go. Otherwise, you're not going to go to somewhere if you don't have to. So it requires motivation. Now I'm only going to do 3 for each, and switch them around, but just so you don't not having to remember too many. I don't think there's cheaper. Yep. Yeah, so that's the main one. Sorry, there's nothing else. So, well, there is actually other things, but I think these are the main ones. So, on the job training. Now, I'm going to rub this off very quickly because it's essentially quite easy to remember. If you can remember one, you can remember the other. So, on the job training is basically the exact opposite of off the job training. So if off the job training is away from work, on the job training is going to be at the workspace. And if an advantage of off the job training is using specialised equipment, then you could say, well, they might not be using the specialised equipment at the workspace that they're given. So obviously this would impact on the training, etc. And also, if an advantage of off the job training is meeting new people, then they're not going to get to meet new people because they're just working with gym and they feel quite relaxed. And it's more or less sort of a training thing. It's more focused on the work. So that's another disadvantage into one there. However, a disadvantage of off the job training is an advantage of on the job training. So an advantage of, disadvantage of off the job training is there is a cost of transport. But if it's with training at the workspace, you don't need to be arranged to train somewhere else. They're already there. They've been working there, so they can train there. You don't have to. There's no transport costs involved for the business, which makes it more attractive to the employer. And another disadvantage of off the job training, which becomes an advantage of on the job training, is obviously they don't need to be motivated to be there. I mean, it helps, but they don't need to be motivated in the essence that they have to attend, sort of thing, because they're being controlled in the working environment. So they say, oh, all employees on Sector 9 have to go to the training facility on Sector 6, for example. So there's no required for motivation. So just to go over that again, because I throw in a bit of information at you there. An advantage of off-the-job training becomes a disadvantage of on-the-job training, and a disadvantage of off-the-job training becomes an advantage of on-the-job training. So an advantage of off-the-job training could be you get more specialised equipment, as you're not at your normal workspace where you might not have that. You get to mix with new people, and yeah, it's more focused on the training, because what I forget most of the time. However, disadvantage, it costs of transport, and you need to be motivated to be there. You can flip them round. So an advantage of off-the-job training is you use specialised equipment, mix with new people, and you're more focused on the training. But disadvantage of off-the-job training is it's costly to move them about, and they need to be motivated. So that's the off-the-job and on-the-job training sort of advantages and disadvantages of that. So I'll just rub this off. Just give that a quick rub off there. So I'm just going to stop the recording for a second while I get my camcorder some juice. Right. Damn it. I'm not going to write anything down on the board for this bit here for the employer and the employee, because I feel there's not that much to this given part of the topic. We have mentioned before about, well, actually this is the same video, so I don't know why I need to mention this if you were watching it, but we talked about the advantages and disadvantages to off-the-job training and on-the-job training, which you can just skip a few minutes. Now, there's no reason the employer or the employee would want to actually do this training, because it's not mandatory. It's kind of an option, really. Well, sort of depending on what training it is. But it's kind of an option because, you know, they wouldn't do it if the advantages didn't outweigh the disadvantages. And obviously, for them doing it, you know, most of the time, the advantages do win out, and they end up actually completing the training. You don't stop halfway through it, because that'd be quite lazy. I mean, the main thing for the employee, you wouldn't be doing this unless you didn't feel it would improve your position within the organisation, or if it was something you needed to do in the future. But to put this in the context of the advantages to the employee, we could say improves their job security. So if they've got more training under their belt, got more skills, they feel less threatened within their organisation, as they feel less people are now above them to take their job, depending on what kind of job they're doing. And also if they're improving their skills within the organisation. Just let me see if this is labelled out in here. Yeah, just trying to think what word I was going to use. If they're more skilled in the organisation, they're going to have more, as word in there is, opportunities. I just like to think of it as, I know it's more complicated, but it's a greater scope for the future. But I think you could remember it better as opportunities if you'd wanted to. So the opportunities allow the individual to take, for example, a promotion that could come up. If they've got these skills that are more suited to a higher job, then you could be on higher pay, and that would increase motivation, sort of have multiplier effects, but in the context of the business. Now, the employer wouldn't want to spend money on training. Yeah, it's very good for the employee, as it goes, yeah, we can get promotion, and, you know, there's more security for our job. I mean, it is good in the context, you know, they don't need to look for new workers, but that's not sort of a main one, really. You couldn't really talk about that much. The main one I'd talk about for the advantage of the employer is talking about in the context of improving the workforce's qualities. So improving their skills, which would improve your reputation within the business. So this is by improving the motivation of the employees. They're producing best quality work, which enhances the reputation of your business. So if we're case studying the exam, might mention something about this business has got a good reputation for its cakes, for example. That's one I was doing before. Now, if you've got a good reputation for something, it wants to uphold that reputation, and the way to do that is by training more employees, so you actually improve the reputation of the business. As I said, that's more than just sort of one advantage, but you can sort of split it into two if you'd want to. I don't think they'd ask you like a 6-mark question. You could sort of talk about one advantage from the employee's point of view and one from the employee. And one from the employee. Out of the two, I would probably pick just so the advantage to the employee. I would talk about I talk about the jobs opportunities, as I think you know, that would be something to talk about. And then for the employer, well, we've only really discussed one about improving the reputation, so that again, that's the one I choose. Now, obviously, there's disadvantages to training, of course. the two contexts are the cost of the training. Oh, sorry, my head's a bit big there. The cost of the training and the actual sort of taking out the time. So if for the employer, for example, the cost might be they're taking out the time that the employee could be working. I mean, that's not bad for the employer. They don't care about that. They just do less work, so it might be an advantage for them. But it means, obviously, it takes out the time out of the worker, and the employee has to set up this training because the worker's not going to set it up themselves unless they're really, really scared about their job security and really want to improve their position, which is highly unlikely as many employees are quite lazy. I'm joking, but you know, some are, and the vast majority who need the training aren't going to be that motivated to go and do it. And the other one is cost. We sort of mentioned that it's cost of the training and the cost to the employee. Obviously, one is more to do with their time. You couldn't really talk about it because they don't really have to pay for the training. The employer covers the costs. Most of the benefits go to the employer, and the employee wouldn't necessarily want to fork out for the training. If the employer were to fork out, you could mention this as some people might not buy the training. So that means you're going to get a few people doing the training, so there's more people skilled in your organisation than others that may not need the skills, but you could sort of go into that. So that's the end of training really. It's not much more to it than that. So just to go over it, you've got the induction training, you've got the off-the-job training, you've got the on-the-job training, you've got the employee, the employer, the advantage to them, the disadvantage to them. Obviously, I don't need to go over that again because you can just rewatch the video. But yeah, there's not much more to training than that. That's the training bit covered. So we'll see you in the next video, which is going to be about the first section of motivation. The second part's already on there, so good luck, and we'll see you in the next one.